welcome back everyone, it's me again, Matsmus, and thank you so much for being here today. We are talking about the Special Forces today, and in particular, the United Kingdom Special Forces Group. It was recently announced today from the Royal Air Force that they are going to be producing their own Special Forces Ground Unit team. This is really interesting news. Totally took me off guard. This tweet was shared to me by a couple of people on Twitter there. I'm sure they're going to release a public announcement via the news and all that sort of stuff fairly shortly. But it seems as though recruitment is already starting to get well underway. We already know that the RAF Regiment is an integral part of the Royal Air Force, their own specialised ground unit. You know, say what you want about this unit, they are starting to look into stepping it up in the Air Force, producing a more specific based Special Forces ground unit. Now, the RAF doesn't really have a specialised ground unit like the SAS, SBS, SRR that, you know, the Army and the Navy have. Inclusive of that, you know, the Parachute Regiment and the Marines. The Parachute Regiment having their Pathfinders group and the Marines having their own specialised units as well with the SPS. The Air Force does have the Joint Special Forces Aviation Wing, which inclusive of that is number 7 Squadron and the Special Forces Flight 47 Squadron of the Royal Air Force. However, no actual ground units other than the RAF Regiment have been produced, and it has been announced that the Special Air Force Regiment is now being recruited to be put into place with the Royal Air Force. This is really exciting. Now, the tweet is obviously going to be released more publicly, and it's going to go into the news and all that sort of stuff a bit more formally than just a tweet. It was shared by a number of people, but it did say that they're only specifically recruiting right now, so they're probably going to be pulling from the ranks of the Royal Air Force, maybe even the Royal Air Force Regiment direct, beginning selection processes for this regiment. I can tell you firsthand that it's going to be rather interesting to see the kind of competitiveness between, you know, Army, Navy, and Air Force with this new regiment coming into place. A lot of people give the RAF Regiment a hard time, but it's going to be really interesting to see how the Air Force goes into producing this kind of unit, a specialised unit, shock troop force for their armed force branch. Now, the recruitment has begun. I'm curious as to see how they're going to kind of structure the unit, what its specific role is going to be, where they're going to go, where they're going to be based, you know, what kind of teams they're producing here, small teams, a rather large regiment. I don't know. I think it's going to be a small base team similar to that of the SES, SBS and SRR, but there is no other news that we have so far. I'm sure the MOD or Ministry of Defence is going to be looking into, you know, how they can kind of showcase this unit and promote it into the ranks, trying to increase recruitment to it, because, you know, Special Forces is it's a different world to the regular force or even the reserve force, and they're going to want to produce their own kind of system and process for bringing in new troops. So the unit isn't formulated yet. It's not actually ready to go. They're going to start doing, I guess, the procurement of new soldiers and troops into that area, or airmen, I guess, as they're called. So really exciting news though, but there is a little bit of information that I did stumble across. Some people did say that there's some announcements that have been made along with this tweet from other sources, including Reddit and all that sort of stuff, into what kind of training requirements are needed for the selection process to getting into the Special Air Force Regiment. And I'm really curious to see what these requirements are. So let's take a quick look at some of the requirements or prerequisites, I guess, for selection process for the Special Air Force Regiment.
Stop. Yeah. Stop. Open up. Stop. Yep. That's play side. Walk. Yep. Start, finish, start, finish, straight. No talk whatsoever. You've been told by the PTIs just to move about, keep the blood flowing. Alright? So do what you're told. Stand at ease, stand still. Move it! High grip, you're down! Stop! Landing, high grip on the rope! Make sure you let it go properly, arms straight above. As fast as you can, fellas, hurry up! Down this rope, sit out, sit outside. Yeah, move it down, on top. Bottom hand, top hand, don't. Yeah, let's go. Bottom hand, top hand, don't fellas, get up. Up and over, get up. Top hand, don't put your hands over. So bottom hand, top hand, bottom hand, top hand. Right. That's it.
Just cable tied on.
Bottom hand, top hand. Bottom hand, top hand. Boys. Watch me neck, go over it now. Hurry up!
So there we have it, folks. Some pretty stringent fitness levels there for sure, and it needs to be. If you want to be a part of this regiment, I'm presuming it's going to have to be to the highest levels of fitness standards, and rightly so. You know, if you want to compete against the SES, SBS, you know, the SF of, you know, UKSF support groups, you're going to want to be able to the highest level of fitness, and it looks like these standards are extremely high, almost on par with the SES for sure, which is amazing to know that the Air Force is going to have their own shock troops at this high level of PT standards. As you can see, these troops are performing the fitness testing as we see, and they're doing some really stringent testing. It looks like the levels of fitness that they have to produce, and just look at the numbers though. I mean, they really do prove that that it's just very difficult to get in, and rightly so. As I said, you know, if you can't perform these kind of exercises, how on earth do you expect to, you know, keep up with the other special forces? It's just not going to happen. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to proceed with this kind of this kind of support group in the special forces role. I think they're going to probably keep in small teams that are going to kind of be dropped off on helos, securing, like, you know, landing strips, air locations, similar to the RAF regiment, but more specialized, more sort of more you know, tactical sense, instead of sort of just being the RAF regiment, more I guess covert more than anything. You know, there's no point dropping off two whole platoons of troops if you can just do it with a small team securing an airfield or whatever it may be. That the RAF regiment usually do, because let's be honest with us, most of us really have no idea what the RAF regiment do. But I'm super excited for the Special Air Force Regiment. I think it's going to be super interesting to see how they push forward and you know, structure this unit into more of a professional group of soldiers and airmen that are going to be able to support the RAF in whatever they do and whatever endeavours they do in the future. So a massive amount of respect to the Air Force for bringing this in. Let's hope we see a lot more news of this coming out in the future. Make sure you stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more information, I'm sure, coming about this in the near future. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And let's just wait and see to see what happens with this new regiment, the Special Air Force Regiment. Folks, if you did enjoy today's video, please leave me a like and a comment. If you want to support my channel, go check out my Patreon page. And if you want to send me anything in the mail, you're more than welcome to by looking in the description box below and checking out my PO box. Hope you have a wonderful day today, everyone, and all the best. Bye-bye.